Greetings everyone! This is another episode of the Broken Controller Club. I'm your host Ed, and before we start, I'd like to guilt you into a like and subscribe because you've watched a few of my videos now and I have the slightest feeling you're still not committing. For shame. There was a time in my life where I would have loved a game like The Outer Worlds. I would have bought it day one and spent the whole weekend plowing through it, exploring every corner and painstakingly reviewing my character's stats with every level gain to see just how I wanted to build them and what I needed to get the very best equipment. Coincidentally, that time was when I was a teenager and work was solely for gaming and candy money. Man, those were the days. Nowadays, the big epic role-playing adventures really have to strike home with me in a meaningful way, or else I can barely even start them without moving on to something faster paced and easier to pick up and put down in 30 minutes. It's why I have unopened copies of Tales of Berseria and Dragon Quest XI in my library right now. I know how much attention these types of games demand, and once I start them, all of life's other distractions set in, and it'll seriously take me a couple of months to get through a single 100-hour game. I mean, I've heard great things about Witcher 3, but will I ever get around to playing it? Probably not. Those 200 hours are probably going to have to go to something else. More than likely, the Final Fantasy VII remake I have pre-ordered because ain't no way I'm missing out on that. 16-year-old me would be really disappointed. So even with all that in mind, I wanted to try out The Outer Worlds since I hadn't done a review on an RPG yet. It was available right away on Game Pass, and that's one less game I have to buy day one for a review because I'm a very cheap person. And really, it's a good game. I'm not quite the audience for it anymore, but that doesn't mean that I can't appreciate all that it accomplishes or how great it looks. If you're into Fallout or like Mass Effect or Skyrim, this is up your alley. And really, it's a lot closer to Mass Effect in what I think is a more personal approach to story and relationships, and I think that'll ultimately be a big draw for RPG fans. So a quick plot summary is that the game takes place in the year 2355, where megacorporations run everything. Yeah. Good thing that'll never happen. And colonization in space is a normal thing. Your character is in cryosleep on what was supposed to be the first colony ship named Hope that went off course while traveling decades earlier, and you're found and brought out of cryosleep by a guy named Phineas Wells to help investigate a conspiracy that's threatening the Halcyon system. Obviously not everything is as it seems, and even Phineas himself exhibits suspect behavior. If it sounds familiar, it's because it's been used 1,000 times before with the names changed. But since it's 2019, everything's been done 1,000 times before to varying degrees of success. Just know that there's factions to align yourself with, lots of worlds and lore to explore, teammates to meet and develop relationships with, and things to do on your way through the game's branching story to its conclusion. The game really allows you to roleplay how you like from the very start. You make a character from scratch and then set their initial stats up and off you go. Every level you gain gives you stat points to use to further build that character up. You want to make someone who's stealthy and good with long-range weapons? Go for it. Someone who's great at melee weapons, who's also a smooth talker? Done. Make someone really bland and kind of okay at everything? Have fun with that. You also get perks that do things like give you permanent health boosts or the ability to walk or run faster, cheaper things in the shop, and more. One of the ways that you acquire perks, which I thought was also cool, is that you can get them offered to you by the game itself in exchange for having what's called a flaw. So for example, you'll get a perk point to spend on your character if you'll accept the flaw of being a less effective fighter against robots. The game also has the requisite crafting system because, again, it's 2019 and everything has a crafting system. Even my cat has a crafting system. It's mainly hairballs and turds left in a litter box, but still, crafting. Anyways, you can sell your stuff or break it down into spare parts, etc. It's everything you are already familiar with. I don't like crafting personally because that means I'm holding on to lots of random garbage that might have a use for something I need to make later, and I'm a minimalist when I play games. The whole game is done in first person, which means the combat is too. You can switch between a few weapons on the fly, and you've got your choice of various melee and long-range weapons, and you get the ability to slow down time to inflict extra damage and special negative effects on enemies like crippling or burning them. You also get the aforementioned partners to recruit into your party to help out with fighting, but I did find them to be a little less than effective at times, and they'd get knocked out halfway through a fight. Since there's no penalty for that though, I liked the strategy of sending them out first like a bunch of red shirts from Star Trek, let them whittle down my target's health, then step in and finish them off after my partner got killed. I rule with an iron fist. So as I said earlier, my own experience with this style of game should absolutely not dissuade you from buying it if you're interested in it. My own snark aside, it's really well done and the graphics are great. The various planets you visit are gorgeously colored and detailed, the voice acting is really well performed, and the only real gripe I have is that the game's got a been there, done that feeling to me. But then, if you like games like this, then you'll have a lot of fun with it regardless, because it's a story that you get to play through your own way. The game has a lot of personality in the way of dialogue and jokes various characters make, and especially in the way of the old-style advertisements you'll see in the loading screens and throughout the game itself. And with that, this review is done, fellow Space Cadets. This is Ed with the Broken Controller Club, reminding you to stretch before working out and take that foil off your leftovers before putting them in the microwave. Until next time, do you like what you see? Or did you lose a bet and have to subscribe to your most hated channel on YouTube? Do you feel sorry for me? Be sure to ding that sexy subscribe button before changing channels, as I have no shame, will take whatever I can get. Thanks again for watching.